Have you ever stopped to think about the connection between the code that runs our world and the images that fill our screens? Today, we're going to dive deep into that connection, pulling from Nick Montfort's Exploratory Programming for the Arts and Humanities to see how learning to program pixels really gives us the power to tell our own stories. So let's kick things off with this really powerful idea from Douglas Rushkoff. He's basically saying that our digital world isn't just there. It was built, it was designed. And if you understand the language of that design, code, you start to see the hidden architecture behind everything. You see the choices that were made for you. And that really begs the question, right? If we don't want to just live inside a world someone else designed, how do we start becoming the architects ourselves? Well, the answer starts with the smallest, most fundamental piece of the puzzle, the single pixel. To get there, we first have to peel back the layers and really understand what a digital image even is. So let's break down the basic building block of pretty much our entire visual world online. You know, every image you see on a screen, your phone, your laptop, whatever, is at its core a bitmap. It sounds technical, but it's not. It's just a grid. That's it. A simple grid of tiny colored dots we call pixels. Think of it like a giant digital mosaic. And here's where it gets really interesting. If an image is just a grid of pixels, that means every photo, every meme, every piece of digital art is just a story being told pixel by pixel. And that story is just data. And if it's data, we can get in there and change it. We can rewrite the story. Okay, so knowing an image is a grid of pixels is one thing, cool. But how do we actually talk to those pixels? How do we communicate with them? Well, this is where the whole idea of exploratory programming comes in, and it lets us take a little journey across the image itself. So if you want to make a change to a whole image, say make it brighter or turn it black and white or create some cool, weird effect, your program has to do something really simple but incredibly powerful. It has to go and visit every single pixel, one by one. And this is basically how it works. It's a loop. The program reads the image just like you'd read a book. It starts at the top left, goes all the way across the first row, then zips back to the left, moves down one row, and does it again, all the way to the bottom right corner. This simple, repetitive trip is the secret to unlocking total control over an image. Now, this brings us to a really important difference. When you're in a program like Photoshop and you click a blur button, you're just giving an order. It's a black box. You don't know how it works. It just does. But when you write the code yourself, you're having a conversation. You're describing the process. You're literally telling the computer, hey, for every single pixel, I want you to look at your neighbors and then just become the average color of that little neighborhood. See the difference? And that is the big shift. Your whole relationship with the technology changes. You go from being just a user, clicking buttons that somebody else thought you might need, to being a creator, a collaborator. You can invent visual effects and tools that don't even exist in any off-the-shelf software. So this is where it all comes together. This technical skill, this ability to mess with pixels, isn't just a neat party trick. It's about something much, much deeper. It's about what we can call narrative sovereignty, the absolute power to create and control our own myths and our own stories. It really just boils down to this. In a world that is totally saturated with digital images, being able to create, take apart, and remake those images from the ground up, that's a form of cultural power. It's the freedom to invent your own visual language and tell the stories that matter to you. And of course, all these ideas we're exploring are right at the heart of Nick Montfort's book. His whole point is to reframe programming. It's not this rigid engineering task. It's a way to explore. It's a tool for sketching, for asking what ifs, and for just playing around to see what you discover. And this isn't just some abstract theory, you know? It unlocks real, tangible powers. You could be an artist creating visuals that no Instagram filter could ever dream of, or a researcher analyzing thousands of historical photos to find hidden cultural patterns, or a storyteller literally building new myths and symbols from scratch. As Montfort himself says, this isn't about becoming a tech expert and turning inward. It's about taking these new skills and turning them outward, using them as a new lens to look at the world. It lets you ask questions that were quite literally impossible to even think of before. So, we'll leave you with this thought. When you learn to control pixels, you are, in a very real sense, learning how to write with light. The question is no longer, what does the software let me do? The question becomes, what can I imagine? So, what new worlds are you going to create?